The vast emptiness of space rippled like water disturbed by an invisible force as the Imperial armada of the Vraylan Empire dropped out of hyperspace above Earth. Dozens of giant starships, metallic and smooth like sharpened blades, lined the sky in formation, casting long shadows across the planet's orbit. These ships, built for domination and powered by technologies thousands of years old, reflected their maker's pride that had led them to conquer countless worlds before this one. To the Vraylan Empire, Earth was just another name on their long list of soon-to-be colonies. There was no formal greeting, no message of peace or curiosity, only silent calculations on how long it would take to subdue the population. Admiral Kareth stood tall at the front of the command deck, his pale blue eyes staring at the slowly turning blue and green planet below. He had studied Earth from afar, seen its old radio signals and outdated technology, and dismissed it as a primitive world just reaching the edge of spaceflight. It lacked interstellar engines. It had no visible orbital defense grid. It did not even react when the Armada arrived. To him, this mission was not war. It was a demonstration of power, a warning to other civilizations that resistance was foolish. Yet within the first minute of arrival, something unexpected happened. The fleet's sensors, designed to scan and map every detail of the target world, began returning strange results. Information loops formed. Data sent to the surface bounced back with modifications as if someone on Earth had intercepted and rewritten them in real time. Earth's satellite systems, which should have been simple to monitor, instead displayed shifting signals that defied the Empire's pattern recognition software. On the screen, one of the officers reported that Earth's digital noise was unusually structured, too clean for a world just entering the space age. At first, Kareth assumed it was just a sensor glitch, a misread, but more reports came in. Every scan showed strange feedback. Every attempt to jam Earth's communication lines failed silently. The crew didn't understand. No resistance, no distress signals, no weapons targeting them, but no fear either. The humans weren't panicking. They weren't even reacting like prey. They were waiting. On the surface, cities went on as normal. Planes flew, lights glowed, and the humans moved through their routines as if they were completely unaware of the massive alien fleet parked above their planet. But they were aware. Deep under the oceans, beneath the polar ice caps and high on secret mountaintops, Earth's real systems came online, silent, undetectable, watching every move the Empire made. The illusion of helplessness was deliberate, perfected over years of quiet preparation. Humans had long suspected that they were not alone in the universe, but instead of shouting into space, they had gone silent. Instead of exposing their progress, they had built in shadows. They learned, waited, and watched, all while presenting themselves as a slow-moving, distracted civilization. What the Vraylans didn't know was that Earth had cracked faster than light communication years ago, but chose not to use it openly. They had developed counter-sensor technologies that made them appear far less advanced. It wasn't a sign of weakness. It was strategy. Kareth ordered the launch of test probes, but as they entered the upper atmosphere, they vanished from the fleet's sensors, not destroyed, not jammed, simply removed from the Empire's systems as if they had never existed. The command crew grew nervous. These ships, which once conquered entire solar systems, now floated uselessly above a planet that should have been defenseless. Then came the most confusing signal yet, a brief pulse sent directly to the fleet's core computer system. It was encoded in Vraylan encryption, but ancient, one not used in hundreds of years. And yet, it worked. The fleet's main computer paused, flickered, and then locked certain controls out. Earth had not only read their systems, it had learned their language and their weaknesses. The Vraylans had always seen themselves as the superior species, the rulers of the stars. But here was a planet they had never considered a threat, now reaching up and taking control of their most secure technologies with ease. Still, no attacks came. Earth did not fire weapons or deploy ships. It did not broadcast threats or demands. It simply responded with silence and quiet interference, like a chess player 3 moves ahead, already knowing the outcome. And it was this calm that began to unsettle Admiral Kareth more than any weapon might have. For the first time in decades, the Empire had no control. For the first time, they were the ones being studied. The Admiral stared at the planet again, this time with less confidence. Something was waiting down there, something far more intelligent, far more prepared than he had believed possible. He suddenly realized what had happened. Earth hadn't been caught off guard. It had been expecting them, and it had let them come. Far beneath the frozen surface of Antarctica, in a facility hidden under miles of reinforced ice and rock, Director Alara Miles stood calmly inside the command chamber of Earth's Strategic Response. Around her, glowing, screens and soft digital hums filled the silent air, while dozens of analysts and technicians worked without panic, without raised voices. It was not the first time they had trained for this. Alara watched as a live feed showed the alien ship still holding position in orbit, their sleek hulls gleaming under sunlight, unaware that every move they made was being tracked with perfect clarity. The Earth they saw was a carefully maintained lie. The satellites they believed were obsolete were, in truth, far more advanced than anything the Vraylan Empire had ever encountered. Alara glanced at the encrypted transmission streaming in. "We have confirmation," she said, her voice steady. "They're using standard galactic codes, very old ones, at least 4 centuries behind current interstellar protocols." She turned to a nearby officer. "And they're broadcasting without encryption. Open frequency." The officer nodded without surprise. That told them everything. The Empire thought Earth was blind, deaf, and unaware. Just another early-stage civilization with no chance to defend itself. They had no idea that Earth had quietly entered the galactic stage years ago. But instead of announcing itself, humanity had chosen silence. It wasn't because of fear. It was strategy. Long ago, Earth's leaders had agreed. If the day ever came that an alien civilization approached, humanity would meet it not with desperation or surrender, but with careful planning. When the first alien signal had been detected decades earlier, it wasn't broadcasted to the public. Instead, the world's best minds gathered behind the scenes. Scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and strategists from every major power united, not for war, but for preparation. While the rest of the world looked up at the stars with wonder, a hidden network of thinkers had already started building the systems needed to protect the planet. FTL communication had been cracked using a technique no one in the galaxy had expected. A strange combination of quantum entanglement and gravitational harmonics, unique to Earth's understanding of physics. Faster-than-light drives followed soon after, not used to explore the stars, but to study, to listen, and to prepare defenses in deep space. Alara had been part of that work from the beginning, and now, standing in the heart of Earth's most secure command post, she saw that the years of silence had paid off. Above the planet, the Empire's sensors were blind. Everything they scanned was fake, intentionally outdated signals, false satellite traffic, misleading data loops. The illusion was flawless. Earth appeared to be a digital backwater with barely any spaceflight and no orbital defense. The Vraylans had walked straight into the trap, not because they were careless, but because Earth had crafted its disguise with the precision of a chess master. In a hidden bay beneath the Arctic Ocean, one of Earth's defense satellites powered up silently. It didn't glow. It didn't emit heat. It didn't even appear on radar. Its body was coated with an adaptive material that bent light and radiation around it, making it invisible even to advanced scans. Similar systems were hidden on the Moon, disguised as mining facilities. Others drifted in high orbits, disguised as space junk. They were all part of the global defense net, a system designed to prevent exactly what was happening now, but not through violence. Earth's goal wasn't to destroy, just to disable, confuse, and control. Ilara's eyes moved across a digital map showing the fleet's exact positions. Every ship had been tagged, tracked, and assessed. Weak points had been calculated, command frequencies decoded, and still the Vraylans did nothing. They couldn't see the truth. They were still waiting for Earth to panic. Alara smiled faintly. Let them wait. In the quiet of the command center, a soft chime sounded. Another probe launched by the Empire had just been intercepted. Not shot down, not destroyed, just pulled out of orbit with a gravity net and redirected into a silent capture shell above. The Pacific. It wouldn't even register as missing. The Vralans wouldn't notice anything until Earth wanted them to. Elsewhere across the planet, world leaders sat in secure conference rooms, connected through deep-channel quantum links. There were no arguments, no emergency orders. This day had been expected. Their decisions had been made years ago. Earth would not fight unless forced. But if forced, it would end the battle before it began. Ilara received a soft ping on her personal display. Another system test. Earth's encryption had successfully infiltrated the Vralan fleet's broadcast loop. Messages sent between their ships were now being silently duplicated and rerouted through Earth's filters without detection. Every command the Empire gave was now visible in real time. And still, Earth remained quiet. This was the calm before the reversal, the moment before the sky would change, not with fire, but with precision. Humanity had never claimed to be the strongest, but it had become the most prepared, the most patient, the most quietly dangerous. Earth had not built an empire, but a fortress, hidden beneath layers of deception, intelligence, and willpower. As the alien fleet floated above, confident in its assumed victory, it didn't realize it was already surrounded, already outmatched, already too late to back away. The illusion was perfect, and soon the truth would be revealed. High above Earth, Admiral Kareth stood on the bridge of his command ship, his eyes fixed on the tactical map that displayed the planet below. After hours of observing no response, no resistance, and no visible sign of military action, he finally gave the order to deploy. The fleet released dozens of drop pods, sleek silver capsules designed to land swiftly and silently in strategic locations. They shot through space toward the atmosphere, each one carrying Empire technology meant to paralyze communication, neutralize infrastructure, and force immediate surrender. The Vralans had done this countless times on other worlds. It was a routine part of conquest. But this time, something strange happened. Just as the pods reached the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere, their signals vanished. One by one, with no warning, they dropped off the command system's screens. There were no explosions, no impact reports, no emergency beacons, just sudden and complete silence. Kareth ordered a full scan demanding real-time tracking. But the AI systems returned errors. Coordinates wouldn't lock, star maps wavered, as if space itself was bending around the planet. Gravity sensors began to fluctuate. The readings made no sense. Onboard instruments showed impossible data, mass shifting slightly, magnetic fields rising and falling in controlled patterns. The Admiral clenched his fists. Something was interfering. But it wasn't brute force. It was something else, precise, invisible, intelligent. Deep within Earth's orbit, things were happening the Vralans could not see. Unknown to them, the planet's defense systems had activated the moment the pods were launched. Earth's satellite grid, once appearing outdated and slow, revealed its true purpose. These were not communication satellites at all. They were defense nodes, each equipped with electromagnetic fields strong enough to catch high-speed objects mid-fall. The drop pods, instead of hitting their targets, were silently redirected. Powerful but unseen, Earth's invisible nets pulled them into high-altitude stasis zones where they floated harmlessly, completely cut off from their fleet. Not a single pod made it to the ground. On the moon's far side, something even more remarkable happened. A massive structure shimmered into view as its stealth cloak deactivated. For years it had sat there in silence, looking like a pile of old mining equipment to any casual observer. But now its true form emerged, a sleek orbital base housing Earth's real fleet. Ships that had never appeared in any space registry powered up. Their dark hulls were coated in material designed to reflect no light, no heat, and no signal. They weren't made to travel between stars. They weren't made to intimidate. They were made to defend. Fast, agile, precise. The kind of ships that could end a fight before it began. Earth had never planned to invade the stars. but it had always planned to protect its sky. Back in the command center beneath Antarctica, Director Ilara Miles received confirmation. All drop pods secured. No casualties. No landfall. Her voice remained calm, but her team understood the weight of what had just happened. Earth had turned the Empire's strongest move into complete failure, and done so without firing a shot. Ilara activated a feed showing the enemy fleet from one of Earth's stealth drones. The alien ships floated there, majestic and massive, but unknowingly exposed. Their size no longer mattered. Their presence was not a threat. It was a question. Earth had already answered. On the Empire's command ship, confusion spread. Engineers ran diagnostics. Pilots recalibrated systems. But nothing helped. Instruments still showed Earth as a weak, scattered digital world, and yet nothing was behaving as expected. Admiral Kareth ordered a secondary probe, but even it was quietly swallowed by a field of distorted space above South America. He began to realize that the planet below was not reacting. It was controlling. Every move the Empire made had been predicted, planned for, and countered before it even happened. Earth had mapped out this battle long ago. The Admiral's confidence began to crack. He had never faced a foe that didn't announce its strength. Earth had spoken no threats, made no demands, and yet had taken complete control of the battlefield. The planet had become a trap, not with walls or weapons, but with information, silence, and timing. Ilara watched it all unfold with measured eyes. Humanity had waited years for this day, not to start a war, but to prove a point. Power was not in noise or firepower. It was in foresight, in coordination, in the ability to act only when needed. Earth's defense was built not on fear, but on the understanding that true strength was invisible until revealed. The Vralans had thought they were writing the rules, but now they were playing a game already lost. One of Ilara's officers looked up from his screen. "They still don't know what's happening," he said quietly. Ilara nodded. "Good. Let them figure it out slowly. The lesson wasn't just for the Empire. It was for the entire galaxy. Earth wasn't to be underestimated. It didn't need to roar. It only needed to move once, and that would be enough." Admiral Kareth had never experienced stillness like this. Inside the command bridge of the Imperial flagship, the lights dimmed without command. The control panels blinked once, then faded into silence. No alarms, no system failures, no visible damage, just an eerie quiet as the ship's systems powered down on their own. The crew looked around in disbelief, hands hovering over dead controls, unable to even speak. The engines were offline, shields had vanished, weapons were unresponsive, and the AI that once ran the ship's vital functions had gone dark. Kareth stood frozen, his gaze fixed on the large viewing window, watching Earth slowly rotate below them. At first he believed it was sabotage from within. But then came the undeniable truth. This wasn't sabotage, it was takeover. Earth had entered their systems, not now, not recently, but long before the fleet had even arrived. The entire armada, proud symbols of Imperial dominance, had been walking into a silent ambush for weeks. Earth had let them come, let them orbit, let them act, only to pull the curtain away when it chose. It wasn't just a defeat. It was a quiet, calculated message. Then, without fanfare, a single ship appeared from Earth's direction. Unlike anything in the Vralan database, the vessel moved without flashing lights or engine trails. Its shape was sleek, unfamiliar to alien design, coated in black that seemed to absorb the stars and lines of shimmering gold that pulsed like veins. No weapons were visible. It didn't need any. As it approached, every Vralan ship remained frozen, unable to move or respond. The human vessel halted a safe distance from the flagship and sent a single short message, clear, translated, and intentional. This was a test you were never ready for. Your empire ends at Earth. The words echoed through the silent bridge, repeated once on every screen, then vanished. No threats followed. No demands. Just silence and presence. Kareth felt something he had not felt in centuries. Respect, mixed with a quiet, bitter awe. He understood now that Earth's power was not in numbers or firepower, but in preparation, knowledge, and control. Every move the Empire had made was seen, calculated, and countered before it was even executed. The Empire had always won by striking first, but Earth had reversed the rules without striking at all. And still, Earth did not destroy the fleet. That was the final lesson. The human ship remained in place, its message already delivered. Then a second signal came, simpler than the first, offering a choice not often given in galactic history. The Vraylan fleet could leave, return home and deliver a message to the galaxy that humanity was no longer prey. Or they could stay, and learn what quiet power truly looked like up close at a cost not measured in fire and flame, but in total loss of command. The message was clear. Earth had nothing to prove. It had already won, without shouting, without a single shot. The choice belonged to the invaders. Admiral Kareth, standing at the edge of his authority, finally bowed his head. It was not in fear or shame, but in recognition. For the first time in his long life, he bowed to a civilization his empire had not even considered worth studying. He thought of the planets they had conquered, of the species who had tried to resist and failed, and now, standing in front of a silent world that had turned the Empire's own strength against itself, he realized those past victories had made the Empire blind. Earth was different. It had never wanted attention. It had built its strength in secret, behind the noise of everyday life, behind ordinary signals and distractions. Its silence was not weakness. It was a wall of patience, and when the time came, that wall had become a mirror, reflecting the invaders' arrogance right back at them. The other Vraylan captains watched their screens, waiting for orders that would not come. Even without a formal declaration, they understood the situation. The battle was never real. It was an invitation to reconsider everything they believed. Kareth raised his hand slowly, signaling a transmission to Earth. No defiance, no argument, just acknowledgement. The Empire would retreat, not because it was forced by weapons, but because it had finally recognized what true strength looked like, the kind that speaks once and is heard forever. The human ship backed away, its engines lighting up silently as it turned back toward its home. The Vraylan fleet, still unable to power up fully, slowly began regaining partial control. Enough to navigate, enough to leave. Earth had allowed them to go. Not as victors, not even as equals, but as witnesses. The stars beyond Earth would soon learn of what had happened, not through loud proclamations, but through the changed eyes of those who came thinking they were the hunters. Earth had rewritten the rules of first contact, and in the silence of space, the lesson had been carved deeper than any weapon ever could. The retreat of the Vraylan Empire was silent, swift, and strangely unchallenged. Their fleet, once symbols of unstoppable power and galactic fear, turned away from Earth's orbit without resistance, without retaliation. No shots were fired, no damage was done. Yet every crew member aboard those ships felt a weight on their shoulders heavier than any weapon could deliver. They had come expecting conquest, ready to write another chapter of victory, but instead, they had been written out of Earth's story before it had even begun. As the Armada vanished into hyperspace, leaving only silence in their wake, word began to spread across the galaxy, not through official broadcasts or recorded battles, but through whispers passed between commanders, traders, and diplomats in quiet corners of space stations. A world once considered too young, too primitive to be noticed, had just shown strength unlike anything the stars had seen in centuries. It wasn't just Earth's technology that sparked the rumors. It was the way humanity had used it. With precision, with patience, with purpose. There had been no grand announcement, no galaxy-wide declaration of power. Earth did not rise with noise or demand respect. Instead, it allowed others to watch, to witness, to understand on their own. From hidden observatories on distant moons to cloaked stations orbiting uncharted planets, Earth's eyes were already open. It listened to the galaxy as others talked, mapped paths while others wandered, and learned quietly while the stars thought it slept. The illusion of being behind had been Earth's greatest strength. Now that illusion was gone, replaced by something deeper: uncertainty. The empires, coalitions, and federations that once ignored the blue planet began reviewing their records. How long had Earth known? How much had it seen? How many layers of its true ability remained hidden? Earth had not simply defended itself. It had made a statement without ever needing to say it twice. Humanity was not prey, not a prize, and certainly not passive. In private meetings across the galaxy, leaders began to adjust their diplomatic charts. Earth, previously marked as low threat, was quietly upgraded to high priority. Some feared it, some admired it, but none could ignore it now. Back on Earth, there were no celebrations, no public speeches, no show of dominance. Inside the quiet halls of the Earth Strategic Response Command beneath Antarctica, the mood was focused, calm. Director Alara Miles stood before a large screen, watching as signals from the Vraylan fleet disappeared from their field. A small, green indicator at the corner showed Earth's global systems remained untouched, secure, and cloaked. The defenses had done their job. The silence had spoken. Around her, teams continued their work as they always had. No one was allowed to grow arrogant. This was not a victory parade. It was a confirmation of direction. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as a performer, but as a planner. There were still things to learn, new threats to prepare for, and deeper truths waiting in the distant corners of the stars. But Earth would be ready for them too. In hidden skywatch posts and deep ocean listening centers, humanity gathered more data. They watched the stars now, not with wonder but with steady eyes and open minds. Scientists refined stealth systems. Mathematicians modeled contact scenarios. Linguists worked on decoding distant alien languages, not for survival, but for understanding. Earth wasn't trying to dominate space. It was building a foundation for something bigger, something long-lasting. Quietly, it had formed new principles of power, not through force, but through timing, unity, and intelligence. The world's greatest strength had not been in its weapons, but in its decision to wait, to think and to act only when every piece was in place. And that's what made Earth different. It didn't lash out when threatened. It didn't boast when challenged. It had turned its patience into precision, its caution into confidence. And now the galaxy would remember. Not because Earth demanded it, but because no one could forget what had happened. In the following months, messages began arriving from other civilizations. Not threats, but greetings, quiet inquiries, offers of dialogue. Not alliances out of fear, but respect. Earth responded carefully, choosing words with the same care it had shown in its defense. It didn't race forward. It didn't reach too far. It simply moved with purpose. The Vraylan Empire, once unquestioned rulers of frontier space, withdrew further than before, their influence slowly shrinking. They had not been defeated by ships or soldiers, but by the realization that they were no longer alone at the top. The galaxy itself had shifted, not in war, but in awareness. A new equation had been written, and Earth was now part of it. Not as a footnote, not as a background system, but as a central piece that could not be ignored. In quiet, still places on Earth, high mountain stations, orbital mirrors, and underwater cities, humanity continued to grow, still without noise, still without demand. Because they knew the truth. The greatest power isn't always seen in action. Sometimes it's the unseen force shaping what happens next. Earth had waited patiently for its moment, and now, with calm steps and focused eyes, it had turned the page. The galaxy had changed, and Earth was already writing the next chapter.